Tom Mullen here in Orlando at the Libertarian National Convention, and today I'm joined by Gary Johnson, presidential candidate and former two-term governor of New Mexico. Governor Johnson, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, Tom. Thank you.
Now, this year, due to the unpopularity of the two major party candidates, you're getting a lot more attention than you did the last time around. But you got a lot more competition, or fiercer competition, it seems like, to get the Libertarian nomination. How's it going so far?
Well, so far, we'll see. I mean, everything's up for grabs, and I'm not taking anything for granted, certainly.
You have any idea how you're doing with the delegates so far?
Oh, it looks okay, but like I say, anything can change. You've got a final debate tonight, and I might bite my tongue in half. I don't know.
Now, if you do get the Libertarian nomination, you're going to have to deal with the same thing that Rand Paul dealt with in the Republican nominating process, which is you got to deal with Donald Trump. And I think one could say Senator Paul made a pretty decent Libertarian argument, and Trump making fun of his hair seemed to have more resonance. How do you deal with that?
Well, if I get to debate Donald Trump, there'll only be three people on stage. That would be Clinton, Trump, and myself. So I think that would make a big difference.
Okay. And what do you think you could do differently, or is there anything different about the message that you'd give to resonate with more general election voters?
Well, I've done a lot of debating, and certainly I wouldn't want to play any cards ahead of time, but really, I'm going to provide a libertarian message that, when I'm constantly asked about Rand Paul and why did Rand Paul not succeed when he's a libertarian, the response is, well, he's not a libertarian, he's a Republican. So I think these issues will resonate. I think by the time that the general election rolls around, the people really will be concerned about issues and not hair. And if it's hair, I haven't had a drink in 29 years, but if it's hair, I might have a drink. I don't know, champagne to celebrate.
Okay. Now, rightly or wrongly,
is there something wrong with my hair? Not mine. No, I'm sorry.
Relatively speaking, no. Rightly or wrongly, people tend to put libertarians on the right, or a subset of the conservative movement. One could make a case against that, but that's the public perception. What part of your message is going to appeal to the Hillary Clinton voters, or people who might otherwise vote for Hillary?
Well, the fact that libertarians are socially liberal and end the war, and the military interventions that she arguably has been a major architect of taking place. I mean, she's a major architect of the conflict that is going on around the world. So I think that resonates with Democrats. I can offer up some real objective evidence that I'll appeal to Bernie Sanders voters, and that is the website isidewith.com. I would like to make a pitch to everyone that's looking at this to get on the website isidewith.com, take the political quiz, 60 questions. At the end of the 60 questions, you get paired up with the presidential candidate most in line with your views. Well, for me, outside of the libertarian candidates running for president, the next politician that I align with running for president is Bernie Sanders at 73%. So there's a lot of libertarian in Bernie, and now I'm talking about a woman's right to choose, legalizing marijuana, gay rights, let's stop dropping bombs, crony capitalism is alive and well, government can provide a level playing field when it comes to economics. But when we do come to the T in the road, when it comes to economics, I go one way and Bernie goes the other. But interestingly, like I say, I pair up with Bernie outside of the libertarian candidates for president.
That is interesting. Now, one of the things about, should you win the general election, the president's powers are limited. I think there's an argument to be made that a libertarian president would do less because maybe respect those limits more. One thing you will have complete control over is the military, and there really is nothing constitutionally stopping you from ordering all our troops home from Germany or Japan. How far down that road are you willing to go?
All the way down the road. I mean, by all the way down the road, something drastic needs to be done. We have treaties with 69 countries that require us to defend their borders, and these were not congressionally authorized treaties. As you point out, these were presidential. These were administrative. And the NSA, my understanding is that the NSA is a executive order by Truman, an executive order to turn the satellites away from the United States and over to our perceived enemies. Well, NSA will say, well, they're trained on our perceived enemies, but gee, that's us. This is atrocious. You said the president has limited powers. Well, within those limited powers, the president does run the federal government, appoints the heads of all the agencies. So a president that's going to really try and achieve smaller government, and smaller government from the standpoint of you and I having to spend less time and less money complying with rules and regulations that at the end of the day really don't make any difference in any of our lives. Don't underestimate how our lives can improve for the better because of lessening that burden.
You know, before we get to the 1.4 million federal employees that you'll be, and that doesn't count the military, one thing that I think libertarians do like about Donald Trump's messages, is all over the place as it might be, is he wants to reach out to the Russians and even the Chinese and try to establish better relations. What is your stance? How do you deal with Vladimir Putin? How do you deal with China?
Well, first of all, diplomacy to the hilt. But with regard to the military interventions, boots on the ground, dropping bombs, flying drones that are arguably killing thousands of innocent people, let's stop with the military interventions, or let's have a skeptic at the table when it comes to outcomes. But diplomacy to the hilt, yes. Joining hands with China and Russia, yes. Make the world a safer place.
And not to whitewash what the Russians have done, but NATO has signed up all of the countries that formerly were Soviet satellites. Is that something that you want to speak against, or is there a question that we should still be in NATO at all?
Well, isn't that something that Congress should be debating and discussing openly in front of the American people? An open debate, an open discussion over foreign policy. Abdicated by Congress to the president and the military. Makes no sense. I mean, it makes total sense. Congress doesn't want to step up to the plate and do what they were elected to do.
And about those 1.4 million employees, I think there's a certain aspect or a certain expectation that the president is going to be elected, and if it's a different president with different views, that everything is going to change. But most of those 1.4 million people aren't politically appointed. They're going to go on doing things the way they've been doing the day before you were inaugurated. How do you change something that's so big, and where do you have leverage to get different outcomes?
Well, regardless of how much you can end up at the end of the day changing, the notion is that you can improve on what exists. So if you're going to elect me as President of the United States, count on smaller government. In New Mexico, I mean, this is all I have to draw on is my own experience. We just managed attrition, and at the end of 8 years had 1,200 fewer state employees. Now, this is significant in New Mexico because never had there been fewer employees from 1 year to the next, much less over a period of 8 years, 1,200 fewer state employees. Bill Weld, when he took office, he furloughed 8,000 employees the first day he was in office. I do really appreciate a partnership with Bill Weld in all this, and I think we could be the architects of that similar kind of a situation within federal government. And at the end of the day, if all federal government does, if all certain employees are doing, is just adding time and money to your and my life and not accomplishing anything, Well, let's just fess up. They're not accomplishing anything, and really, are they needed in those jobs?
Gotcha. And tonight, well, of course, before you can get that libertarian message out to the people, you're going to have to defend your own libertarian record tonight. What do you think is going to be the major issues that you guys go at each other on in the debate tonight?
Well, the same issues as always. The role of government, which should be limited, personal freedom, personal liberty, and these military interventions. The fact that we do have 1 million troops in Europe. When anyone ever hears that, yourself included, when you tell people that, I mean, there's a big question mark. Everybody wonders, well, why is that the case? And I don't think people recognize that we do have treaties with 69 countries where we are obligated to defend their borders, and these were treaties that did not involve Congress.
Okay. Well, Governor, good luck with the debate tonight, the election tomorrow, and we'll be, us and hundreds of other journalists here at the convention will be watching.
Well, and one aspect of the convention is that I believe in 2012 there were 20 press passes, if you will, issued. This year there are 250. So a lot more attention.
Yeah, a lot more attention here and in the national media. All right, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you.